Hello, I'm Matt Putra, CEO of 8X. We are a firm of fractional CFOs and finance professionals, and I am your host of Conquering Complexity, Breaking Barriers to Sustainable Growth. Today I'm joined by Ian Rollin Berry. He is the founder and director of growth at AMZ Expand. He helps sales-focused brands optimize and scale. He's also the founder of Brushee, which is a pocket-sized toothbrush with toothpaste in the bristles, a toothpick, and floss, specifically designed to provide quick and easy oral care on the go. Ian has come a long way in his journey to become an entrepreneur. For most of his life, he was preparing to become a lawyer and represent NFL players. However, his trajectory shifted dramatically when he realized his true passion was entrepreneurship. Welcome, Ian.
Pleasure to be here. Appreciate you, Matt. Thank you.
Welcome to Conquering Complexity, Breaking Barriers to Sustainable Growth, a podcast from 8X. If you're a CEO of a rapidly growing e-commerce and B2B CPG company, you're feeling the pressure of staying on top of increasing amounts of complexity. Our fractional CFOs help you regain control, streamline operations, and set the stage for sustainable growth. On this podcast, CEO Matt Putra and his guests share their insight on how to manage the complexity of running a rapidly growing consumer products company.
So I have some questions. Of course, they're going to be sort of financially related. So today we're going to talk a bit about financial management. So from when you started to now, how has financially managing your businesses evolved?
Oh boy. So because I walked into this with no background from a traditional schooling standpoint with regards to business or anything of that nature, and I had decided to kind of go into this path based on passion, which I've noticed. I walked into this from, I did the due diligence on the category, the concept. We have a great product, the market needs it. And I was just so focused on selling units. Like I didn't care about anything else besides vanity metrics. And it wasn't from a, oh, look at what we're selling perspective. It was from a, I just want to get this in the hands of so many people perspective that I had no real initial structure from the beginning. I had no real KPIs, no real modeling and all of that. And bringing you guys on specifically with 8X and, that system that we created taught me about the structure that's required to take what is from a product, an idea, and turn into a business, right? Because inevitably that's what, we're all here for, is to create something that's sustainable, that can scale. And so, I mean, I've come from A to Z in that regard, from where I first started to what is, integral to, what we run organizationally and what we also assist other brands with.
Cool. And I'm assuming this has also then informed your work with other brands at AMZ.
Without question. Especially, I see with new sellers that come towards, the platform, they've done their product research. We would hope sometimes that doesn't, happen the right way. They pick a product they just like without that research. But even from both ends of the spectrum, they'll come in with a product and a brand idea and system, but they don't actually have a program that's aligned with the actual financial structure and modeling and all of that for growth and scale. And they kind of I understand where they're coming from, but they kind of just assume, okay, well, I've done the hardest part of what is this, this journey that I'm on, which is creating the product and getting it onto the platform, when in actuality, especially the Amazon space is so competitive now, it's now about how well do you steer that system that you've built around the product and brand that you've created. And that's integral.
Cool. What was one of the biggest challenges you've had at Brushee?
I would say that the biggest thing that we had was maintaining growth in a way that made sense for our cash.
Sure.
Because, we are a bootstrapped entity, not taking any outside investment and trying to be able to leverage, the growth element of it and push that as much as possible, but also making sure that stock was sound. And stock, for us was something that was a constant thing that, was top of mind, and it was a priority because with the growth we were seeing, we had air freighting units. With air freighting in units, it's cutting down on our margins, which we're trying to be as aggressive as possible, but that, eats into each other to the point where there's a fine line between, we steer this without over leveraging.
Right. Well, and so then does that speak to a bit about the systems? Like, how have you built systems around the steering? Like, what have you done to, I mean, obviously everyone makes or does things suboptimally in the beginning, but what are you now doing? What systems are you using now, both in your work with Brushee, but also with others?
For sure. The number one system that was instituted, we did with Leandro, was that the weekly cash flow
Mm,
management. That's key. I was going to save that one for later on, but that has been integral. Before we had a system that was modeled out with regards to looking at cash end of month,
yeah,
but with the way that our program was running, I guess you could say the nimbleness that we needed within our particular system, looking at cash from a weekly standpoint alongside of how we were shipping out units was integral and a game changer for clarity, but also being able to be a lot more finite with the decisions that we were making. So I would recommend any entity that is going through a particular cash situation where it's always something that at the forefront because you're learning and you're still gathering more data. I would highly implement some type of system to potentially take a look at the cash flow modeling from a smaller increment that you may be, because it's made all the difference in the world with regards to us and our programs if we instituted it.
and what kind of systems do you use when you're helping other sellers grow their own businesses?
Absolutely. It largely depends on where they're at in the process because there's
Mm,
sometimes, if they're a new seller and they don't have anything from the forefront, then we at least baseline set them up with correct P&L softwares to align with the Amazon system and not rely on the Amazon payout system to
mm,
be people's, economical framework with regards to how they're running their system because they'll just look at, oh, well, here's what I'm getting paid out from Amazon, and they are not looking at the business as a whole. So we
hmm.
want to align and actually structure the account with, some awesome softwares that are out there that we leverage, which gives a holistic view of everything that really provides additional insight that most brands, new brands, don't plug into there. If they're an established entity, then, we kind of look into, okay, well, what does your modeling look like specific to the Amazon ecosystem? And how can we enhance that and tweak that to be able to, reverse engineer from the goals we've set forth?
Amazing. And so I'm hearing a couple things there, like alignment and turning data into knowledge and stuff. And so, first of all, alignment. Like, what do you do when you feel misaligned or you feel a client of yours at AMZ is misaligned? How do you kind of get back to looking at things in a way that relates to where you're headed?
That's an awesome question. Those core KPIs
Mm,
and the big why. I think from the forefront, everything that we do internally at Brushee, and also I work within the client relationship, is reverse engineered from our why, which is a tangible goal, and we have what our core KPIs are from in our program that we're
mm,
leveraging to build towards that why, and we just
mm,
go back to that. The more data that comes in, it can, if we allow our minds to get busy with it, then it can allow our programs to get busy and not actually stay streamlined on what we know is working or what we've at
mhm.
least created on the path to generate the data to learn what is and what isn't. So from that perspective, it's really about going back to those core things that are the drivers of your particular program and not allowing for data to become too much noise that takes you off of that path.
How do you figure out what the core things are?
That's an amazing question. That's yeah, that is typically to me reversed from where is the entity at financially
Mm,
first, and how does their particular product fit into the ecosystem of which they're driving. That is everything, because a product that's in a very competitive niche, that may have to run a program at, say, a break even, or maybe even get more aggressive than that to put themselves in a position to compete. And then also, let's say they're in the consumable space, they're dealing with a situation where they have, lifetime value, right?
mm,
So that's one where if they're in a super competitive space and they're able to financially maneuver in a way that they can get aggressive and see the
mhm,
results and see the forest through the trees, then
mhm,
we're going to run a slightly different program than if we're dealing with an entity that really has a niche opportunity, that has an open market that doesn't have to get as competitive, that really needs the capital from each sale to put themselves in a position to be successful. So I would say that's really organization and client like specific to how that particular brand aligns with the current market that they're entering into. But I would say though that some of the things that kind of go into that is, again, you always want to know from a core perspective, like your margin parameters, like how sound are those. You also want to factor in roughly are you looking at your acquisition costs, and how competitive you have to be in this particular space, things of that nature when it comes to when it
That makes sense. And but so when I work with Amazon brands, and we have a few, like including you and some others that are doing multi seven figures a month, one of the things I personally struggle with the most is I don't get as much data from Amazon as I would with with a Shopify seller, dude. We've now created this way to get like multiple cohorts, and like then you can sort of back test and see how, like you can sort of make a really, like I just did it the other day, 4% revenue accurate forecast over 17 months. But like because I have all the data. But when you handle Amazon stuff, like you're talking about markets and industries and like all these different things, like where do you figure all this stuff out from?
Yeah, what to me, Amazon in essence is really, really simple
Mm,
if we allow it to be simple. Because
tell me more.
the game is, how do I rank number one on all of the keywords that are relevant to my product, period.
Mm,
That's it. That's Amazon in a nutshell. And as long as you're measuring
mm,
where you are ranking at on the keywords that are relevant to your product and how that's having an impact on your organic and paid sales, it then becomes a game of, okay, what input do I have to put to get the output that I'm looking for, and at what cost,
mm.
if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah. I'm sort of like, I wonder if my team sent you these questions in advance because you're just like really like leaning into like our whole our core philosophy, which is like simplifying everything. And
Yeah.
because people, like you say, they look at data that's not relevant, and there's all these different things and new SKUs and all this. And if you can simplify and keep simplifying, you can really grow. And there's a guy I know named Bill D'Alessandro who's probably for me one of the best I know today at simplifying complex stuff, and I've seen a lot of really interesting stuff happen with his business. And yeah, I'm really resonating with what you're saying. And how do you keep coming back to with a client or with yourself, like, oh, there's a new data point, maybe I should get that, or oh, there's a SKU that I should get. Like, how do you keep coming back to the simplification?
Does it align? You know, does that data point align with our core?
Hmm.
That's really what it is. And if we don't know yet,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a, okay, let's put that on the whiteboard, but that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean we put that on the whiteboard in a priority above what we know. You know what I'm saying? It's okay, this is still an unknown. We can look at this, we
Mm-hmm.
can test this in the capacity, and we can assess it within the frame of which we now have. However, we don't want to take immediate action from such if it comes at the risk of, tweaking too much of what is our core, because that's an unnecessary risk.
Hmm. Interesting. Amazing. I love it. I just love it so much. I'm just taken aback. Yeah. Um, One thing I wanted to ask as well is when you talk about winning on the keywords, if you're in a space where there might be bigger players or more established, how do you win? How do you try and win?
That's a fun one, especially when it's consumables, because it's one that often clients might not want to hear,
Hmm.
but it's one that's true in that space, is that you may likely, especially if it's a competitive niche, have to get very comfortable with running a program that you might not see profits for some time. Because you're in a space where, especially on the Amazon ecosystem, where if you're a new brand, let's say, or new-ish brand, and you're in a space that is, entrenched with historical brands that have been there for some times with thousands of reviews,
Like you,
proof of
yeah,
concept and all of that,
yeah.
you're now up against it with regards to costs that you have to put in to acquire a customer,
Mhm.
and also alongside that to gain that proof of concept by basically generating those reviews. And there are a lot of brands out there as well that they have the data around Amazon, that roughly what their lifetime value is for someone who purchases their particular product. There are many brands out there that also, if they're established, have an ecosystem of products that they sell. And they're very comfortable essentially acquiring a customer, often at a loss, because they know that customer is going to come back and
Mhm.
purchase a supplemental product or that
Mhm.
same product, which makes them profitable in X period, depending on whatever brand, whatever the brand's parameters are there.
Mhm.
So not only are you kind of up against one piece of it where it's, okay, here's established brand, I've got to try and come and gain traction on reviews and proof of concept, but it's also they have, more data to leverage, likely more capital, and to get more aggressive. How do you compete? You essentially, it's about pure execution within your own frame, knowing where you're at, not over leveraging yourself, but being comfortable with the long game, being comfortable with measuring that rank that we touched on with regards to where you are, and making sure that your program is continuing to see progression in that particular rank on those relevant keywords. Your KPI, if it needs to, your KPIs need to essentially shit. If you're a very profit focused entity looking to compete in a very inundated market that is, essentially entrenched with historical brands, you need to be very comfortable with shifting your KPIs from necessarily that maximize profit on every sale
Yeah.
to how am I ranking on those relevant keywords and how is that progression moving forward? Because ultimately, once you do hit that spot of rank, you'll be able to pull back on ads and generate those sales organically to put you into a spot where your margins open up.
Cool. So, if a magic genie appeared and granted you one wish that you could use in your business, what would you wish for?
So let me ask you this, because I feel like everyone would cheat code this one. Does unlimited capital count?
I
Can
had
I put that or
our first guest said the same thing. He's like unlimited 0% lines of credit, basically, or
what I'm
whatever.
saying? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that counts or not. I felt like that was cheating if I say that one.
No, no, you said it too.
Oh yeah, for sure then. For sure. I'm giving this product to every single individual with a beating heart. You know what I mean? Like, here's Brushee, thank you, come again. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's for sure.
Man, so someone just needs to come up with this kind of facility, but we'll figure
Yes.
that one out. Yep, yep,
Yes.
yep. All right, well, we're going to take a really quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to ask Ian some questions about himself.
You've spent over 20 years in corporate, and now you've stepped off the hamster wheel to run your own show as a fractional executive. Whether you're flying solo, leading a small firm, or running a boutique, Maven is your fast track to earning over $500,000 annually, and potentially more, without the grueling corporate hours. This is your shot at the freedom, flexibility, and independence you've worked so hard to achieve. By infusing your intellectual property into all aspects of your revenue generation, Maven transcends the limitations of other sales and marketing approaches. You'll have a pipeline so full that prospects who truly value what you bring to the table will be the ones knocking on your door. You'll work directly with Jay and Taz, who've led the way for over 30 years, helping countless executives make this leap. Contact j.kingley at fractionalmaven.com. Spots are limited, so act now to build the business and life you deserve.
Welcome back. We are talking to Ian. He's the founder of AMZ Expand and the founder of Brushee. Ian, I want to ask you a few questions about you. What happened in your life that most explains where you are now?
Yeah, dude, I would say the most monumental, I think, decision I've made as a man to date has been my decision to decline law school to pursue what is Brushee in this journey that I've been on. I prepared my whole entire life up until that point to go to law school and represent NFL athletes as an agent. And my whole entire schooling was focused on that since I was like, 10. I mean, I knew that's what I wanted to do. And it was up until my last semester in college that I had no classes. And for the first time, I felt like I was off what I called like the hamster wheel, which is like just I had a program set out for me. Here's your courses, here's your agenda. You just go running that, and I had time to think. And I came up with Brushee along with other concepts, and I
Cool.
was more excited about trying to find a way to make that work and learning in that space than I was attending the law school orientation that I've been accepted into. So I declined that, and not my mom's favorite decision. And
That was my next question.
yeah, I heard it from mom, aunties, yeah. But
100%.
yeah, but it was something that I'm extremely grateful for. I discovered to me that at that time period what I thought was maybe something that I wanted to do in real, like, And when it came time for that, I had a calling, I guess you could say it for lack of
Yeah.
better words, for
Yeah, sure.
something else. And the ability to be able to go after that and chase that and be in the position to, to do that in and of itself, especially in this awesome country that we have, man. I mean,
Mm,
that's a blessing. That's just a blessing.
amazing. What do you love the most about ecom CPG, or what do you hate the most, and what do you hate the
I can
most?
give you both. I can give you both. Oh yeah. I love you can like the fact that a concept of anything can go from like what is a thought
Mm,
to like something physical and tangible that impacts someone's life that you can hear feedback from is awesome to me. Like that is that is the pure essence of life, like creation. And so like in this space we're able to create and not just create products that service the world, but we're also able to build systems around that, give these products to people. And that's the fun part of the game. So like
cool.
that's the part of it that I love is the actual, the program and doing that, and also, doing that for people, but also supporting brands and, allowing them to be able to see the love that comes forth with sound programming alongside of that as well. The part of it that I wouldn't say I hate, but like I care so much about the consumer experience with products that the moment I hear feedback about something, that could be enhanced or improved, I want it done like yesterday.
Mm,
But it's
mm.
unlike software, where like software you can go in and do a quick update. You have enough people, not quick, but like you can do an update, you know what I mean, like to
Oh,
what
yeah,
you're,
yeah.
if you have people. But when you're building a product and something, you're dealing with lead times and you got to do
Right.
tooling and testing and all of that, like when people complain about some things that could be enhancing the product, there's often a long time period before that product comes out. And I hear you, you know what I mean, like I want you, we're working to get towards it. But like that to me is someone who cares so much that a consumer has spent their hard-earned dollars on a product that's come out from myself or clients
Yeah.
represent. I'd love to be able to just have turn around overnight with regards to quick
Yeah.
adjustments to that. But like in that space of the CPG, it doesn't necessarily work like that.
Yeah. Well, how long did it take you to switch factories?
Which one?
How many documents did we read, and how many
Yeah.
samples, and how many tech packs, and like, who do you look up to? Who's your hero?
I would say who I look up to, and I'm going top of mind right now. This guy is Alex Ramosi, man. Like
Oh, cool.
that guy is awesome, brother. Like he's taught me so. I don't know the man, and he's taught me almost more than a lot of
Mm,
people that I've come across. And he has a gift, a very special gift, in the way he articulates
mhm.
that, and his willingness and his love to spend time to give that information to others so that they can better themselves. I mean, it's an amazing thing. So
Cool.
I'm extremely appreciative of that, man.
Cool. Well, this is the last question. How do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn, feel free to reach out in any capacity on LinkedIn for sure. And I'd say I started social, so I'm posting content with regards
Cool.
to assistance with Amazon and some things that people might not know, tips and things of that nature. So definitely check those pieces out. You can find me on Instagram, Ian Rollin Berry, just name spelled out. Also on TikTok as well. And yeah, I think those are the best routes.
Okay, great. I will make sure we add those to the show notes. So, Ian, I want to thank you for being a guest. You're number 3, so there's not been that many people on here, and it's just such a joy to chat, to be honest. So, and to the listener, be sure to subscribe to both our podcast and all the major platforms. I don't know why I said both, but be sure to subscribe to our
You
podcast
know what
on
we
all
were
the major
talking about.
platforms.
You know what we were talking about.
Exactly, exactly. And subscribe on our YouTube channel as well. And last thing is just remember that growth isn't just about like scaling with wild abandon. If you keep it simple, like Ian talked about, you will make your life so much easier. You'll scale faster, you'll scale more profitably, and you'll break less shit and have more fun.